Hello friends, and welcome to this session. Today I'm going to talk about creating your own website. If you are working as freelancer or if you have your own business, I think having your website is going to be imperative. So I've got lots of tips for you and lots of links that you can visit for more information. So let's get started with this session. Before I get started, a brief introduction about myself. So my name is Makarand Pandit. They also call me as Mac. About 20 plus years of experience working as a technical communicator, instructional designer, and a trainer. I am the CEO and managing director of Technowrites Private Limited, the company that I founded in 1994. We have worked on a number of projects, and through the years, I had to sort of scale up my company from literally a one person operation to a team where we now have more than 20 people working for us. So during these years, I have got lots of experiences and I'm going to share them with you. Now, if you are watching this session as a webinar, you may also be interested in watching the videos of some of the related sessions. So I'll be saving the webinar and I'll be sharing the webinar videos also. But then there are a few other sessions. I've mentioned them towards the end of this presentation. I am the Associate Fellow of the Society for Technical Communication, the worldwide, and I was the first Indian to become the Associate Fellow. I am the past president of the STC India chapter, and I was the founder member of the STC India chapter. And I am also the past owner of Twin, that is the Technical Writers of India mailing list. Now let's go ahead with our session today. So in this presentation, I'm going to talk about importance of website. I'm going to talk about what is a website, what do you need to build a site. I'm going to talk about how you can get server space, how you can build or use tools like Site Builder, how you are going to create an email ID for yourself and what are the best options for doing that. I'll talk about adding value to your site, and I'll also talk about using the social media to publicize your site. So let's go ahead. Now, first of all, the importance of the website. Now, let me simply say that website could be the best investment that you can do in your business, and there is probably no need to overstate this fact. If you want to build a business, you have to have your own website, and that's going to really help you to do your business, give away information about your business to others, talk to your customers, interact with your customers, and so on. Your website creates your brand. So your website will be hosted with your domain name, for example something like technowrites.com. Your website will create your identity, and to create and further promote your identity, you should definitely have a domain specific email ID. So something like mac@technowrites.com and not something like makarand.pandit@gmail.com. Website is your office that works 24/7. Your website is available on any device and should be designed in such a way that it is accessible through any device connected to internet. At this moment of time, we are primarily talking about desktops, laptops, we are talking about mobile phones and maybe tablets. The website should be able to disseminate or give away information. The website should be able to generate inquiries for your business. The website should be able to save time for you, and the website should also be able to maintain a log of visitors so that you can contact them and you can generate a list of inquiries. Let's go ahead. Now, what is really a website? A website has got pages of information. Typically, you have got text, audio, video, links, and so on. Your website can also host some active components like inquiry forms or email generators, using which people can fill up that form and then an email will be triggered to you as well as them saying that their inquiry has been registered. And using the coordinates that they have mentioned, their name, email ID, and so on, you should be able to get back to them. In addition, your website may have banners, animations, and other eye catchers so that the important points of the site will be highlighted and so on. And then you can also have some of the other components, for example mailing lists, membership forums, and so on and so forth. Let's go ahead. Now, what do you need to build a site? Number one, you'll need to have a domain name. So you should register a domain name. You'll need to have a place where your website content will be hosted, or in other words, your files are going to be stored. You'll need to have a tool for developing the website. So there are a number of website builders available. You can use tools like content management systems, templates, and so on. I'll talk a little bit more about this later. You'll need to have an email server from where you can access your email, you can check your emails, reply to your emails, and so on. You'll need to consider the possibility of advertising and value addition to your website, and you'll need to consider the possibility of linking your website to the social media. Now, how do you register your domain? Search for a suitable domain name. Now, ours is technowrites.com. Now, you may want to choose something like technowrites.com or .org or .in and so on. The domain name or the domain extension rather gives the reader an idea about what type of business entity it is and what type and let's say where it is located geographically. So typically a domain name that ends with .in is considered to be an Indian company. Typically a domain name that ends with .edu is considered to be an educational institute. Typically a domain name that ends with .gov is considered to be a government organization, and so on. If you are doing it for business, I would suggest you get a domain name like .com or .in if you are an Indian company. Pay for that domain. Now typically we pay for something like 2 to 3 years of that particular domain registration. After that amount of time, you simply renew your domain. Now where can you register your domain? There are a number of places where you can do that. So GoDaddy is one of them, BigRock is another, Google is another, and there are many more. So you can use any of them. Now where will you get server space to store your site? You'll get server space on GoDaddy, you'll get server space on JustHost, WordPress, Google, DreamHost, Site5 and so on. So all these sites, they specialize in giving you server space where you can host your website. But then they actually give you the facility to host the site, design the site, register the domain, and even have an email server. So the recommended option, now this is something that I would recommend, is going for something like GoDaddy or going for Google. So GoDaddy offers a bundle of domain registration, server space, email ID and site builder, everything put together. Typically the charges may vary from about rupees 150 to about 1000 rupees. Now the difference being the number of sites that you are hosting, number of email IDs, size of the emails or attachments or maximum space that you can occupy on that server and so on. If you are a freelancer, I think something that should give you, let's say, a reasonable option like having a website, registering the domain, having a site builder and having at least one email ID should probably cost you something in the range of 200 rupees per month. Now I am talking about the rates which are prevalent as of today, and today is 8th of April 2015. So maybe these rates will change. Typically these rates can also come down, so it's not necessary the rates will increase, they may actually come down. If you have a strong business with substantial revenue, so let's say if your business is generating a few lakhs of revenue or a few crores, let's say 1.5 2 crores of revenue, then I would recommend that you, instead of designing your website yourself, you get it done through a professional organization, because they'll take you beyond what I am telling you right now. They'll give you many more options, they'll ask you many more questions, and they can build a more powerful website for you. They'll have site builders of their own which will be even more powerful than what you can use with your limited knowledge. A number of site building options. So WordPress is free, hundreds of templates are available. Many of these templates are responsive templates. Now what is the meaning of responsive template? When you open that particular site on a desktop, then it opens a wider and a broader page. When you open it on a mobile phone, then it opens a different orientation of the same page. When you open it on a tablet, again it opens a different orientation. And the site or the template of the site is intelligent enough to find out from which device is the user reading the site. So the site will change its form. Though the content may not be changed or altered, the form will be changed to make sure that the user gets a convenient reading experience. Now such kind of templates are called as responsive templates. So there are a lot of responsive templates available on WordPress. WordPress has got number of plugins. Many of them are free, but there are paid plugins also available. WordPress is very easy to use. There are literally millions of sites hosted using WordPress. There are a number of people who have created their blogs on WordPress and so on. Using some of the plugins that WordPress has, you can create areas restricted for members with restricted pages. You can create an online chat, so you can actually chat with your visitor. You can even create a newsletter that can be sent by mails and so on. And there are a few hundred plugins available for WordPress. So you'll need to really get into it and look at the various options that are available. So WordPress is definitely a good option. There are some other options. So Google Business Application offers you its own website builder and templates and plugins. Now, when you go in for Google Business Applications, you will have to pay by email account. So if you are, let's say, having only one email account, then you are paying something like 175 to 200 rupees a month. If you are having two accounts, just multiply that number by 2. So instead of 175, you are probably paying 350 and so on. Now, after a certain number of mail IDs, so if you can guarantee that I'll have at least 10 mail IDs or 20 mail IDs, then you can probably get better, more competitive packages. But then Google doesn't really charge you for server space. So it has got very unique commercial model that it is charging by email per month. And within that charges, it's giving you a website builder, it's giving you server space, it's giving you Google email, and so on and so forth. All the Google business applications are available to you. The other option, of course, is GoDaddy, and GoDaddy is my favorite. Now, GoDaddy offers its own site builder. It has got its own templates, its own plugins, and all these things are made available to you for a nominal additional fee. Now, if you are going to consider the option of having emails, then definitely you should ask yourself these questions. So one is you should have a domain specific mail ID because it creates a much better business impression and much more business sense. Now there are a number of questions. Number one, will you need to provide more email IDs later? So let's say you are doing business yourself, but there is a possibility that there is a freelancer working with you, your colleague working with you, maybe your family members working with you, and you need to give them an ID as well. So then you have to think about, am I going to create only one email ID or multiple email IDs? A number of times for businesses, it may make sense that you may have separate mail IDs for people to register. For example, if somebody is just inquiring, then instead of giving your email ID, you should give info@yourdomainname.com. If somebody is asking you for support or questions about some technical issues and something like that, then it could be support@yourdomainname.com. So in that case, you are going to need info login, your info email ID, you are going to need a support email ID and maybe your own email ID. Now you may be checking all these email IDs yourself, but from business point of view, it makes much more sense because somebody thinks that there are separate mail IDs for separate responsibilities. So I'm dealing with a professional organization over here. So think about that. How easy will it be to access that email? Will it be cloud-based? Will it be accessible 24/7 from anywhere? Is the email accessible through a smartphone? So something like Google Mail can be easily configured on an Android phone. So which means that you don't really have to go to any computer. You can check your email right on your mobile phone. So can the mails be searched, tagged, automated, archived, and so on? A number of times, many people are giving you options for having emails, one or more emails, and maybe slightly better packages also than Google. But then I've realized that Google has got the best features when it comes to searching mails, when it comes to tagging mails, automating some task based on where the mail is coming from, should it be automatically forwarded to, should it be automatically replied, and so on and so forth, and to archive the email and so on. What will be the mailbox size? So maybe some sites are giving you email at a lower rate, but then the maximum size of the mailbox could be restricted, or let's say the maximum size of the attachment that can go with the email could be restricted. So think about all these questions. Personally, I feel Google Business Apps offers the best option. May work out or at least seem to be slightly expensive, but when you consider that you are going to have Google Chat integrated with it, when you consider that you are going to have Google Plus integrated with it, when you consider that there are all other options, Google Calendar, Google Alerts, and so on, so Google Hangouts integrated with that, which will help you to have a video discussion or conversation with your client and so on. I think Google Business Apps works out to be the best alternative. The next best, I think, is GoDaddy. Remember, Google Email also creates a YouTube channel for you. So if you are using Google Business applications, you can use the same ID to log into YouTube and then create a YouTube channel for yourself as well. So all that gets integrated in it. So adding value to your site, create a special page for paid customers and members, create social media pages separately. So let's say a page that you have created on Facebook or LinkedIn, and then that page is linked to your original site, because then you are getting the advantage of using that social media page in promoting through the social media network, and what they call as viral marketing. And then through that somebody comes to that particular page. Sometimes that page is also called as a landing page, and that landing page then guides somebody to your actual page. You can integrate chat service, or so you can either chat yourself with your visitors, or then you can even hire a chat service. So there are chat service agents available that you can hire, and they'll charge you a fee, but then they give you a service which is 24/7. So no matter when somebody comes to your website, a chat agent is already active there, and the person starts interacting. So in my experience, this helps you to generate a good number of inquiries and do what we call as lead processing. You can host audios and videos through your website, or maybe provide links to your videos elsewhere, maybe hosted on YouTube or something else. Automated chat robots are also available, but then they have a limitation. So automated chat robot simply starts chatting with the customer, but then it mentions that I'm an automated chat agent, and for more information you'll need to contact so and so email ID. But some amount of lead processing is definitely done. Again, in automated chat, you have got the free chat agents, and you also have got the paid chat agents. So I'll give you one or two links towards the end of this particular presentation that you can look at. You can integrate Google Analytics to monitor who's coming to your site, and how that person is coming to your site, and what is the person's behavior. If it's possible, you can use internet advertising. So use Google for advertising on internet. And when you are doing that, it makes much more sense that you use Google Analytics, so that you can find out the complete statistics of who has come, what that person had searched for, and so on. If you are selling something, maybe it's an e-commerce site, or you are charging your customer for the service or the product that you are selling, and you want to give a facility to make payment, then you'll have to integrate with what is called as a payment gateway. Now, if you are going to do that, mind you, I would highly recommend that you go in for a professional company who will do this payment gateway integration for you. The reason for this being, payment information has to be secured, and this security and all the aspects are a bit too complex for you to handle individually. So for something like payment gateway integration, I would strongly recommend that you go ahead and get a professional help from a website development company. Let's go to the next slide. So some frequently asked questions. So I already have a domain name and a website. The site isn't good. Now what do I do? Now it's very simple actually. Since you have a domain name, you can use the same name, but then instead of pointing it to your current server location where your site is hosted, now you can point to another server location, and that will do the trick. Now there could be some technical details involved, and you can either get help from people who are hosting your site right now, or then the place where you are hosting your site. So for example, if you go to HostGator, or if you go to Site5, they have got their own admins who will help you to configure a site and then point that domain name to the new site. Now typically it takes about 1 or 2 days for the new domain and server address to get propagated, but I think it's quite easily done. How much does a professional site designing company charge? Now in my experience, they may charge something starting from about 40,000 rupees to about 1 to 1.5 lakh rupees. Now with payment gateway integration and all that, if they charge you something around 80 to 85,000, I think that is normal. But then you can say that, okay, I want this. So if you are able to really define what is that you want, and then you go to them, you may be able to get a better rate if you make them understand what is that you want. But then I suggest you have an open mind, because they may actually add more value to your site than what you can possibly perceive at this point of time. So how much does Google advertising cost? Now Technowrites spends to the tune of about 30 to 50,000 rupees per month in Google advertising. So there is really no end to it, but then one has to keep on learning that part. One has to keep on changing the advertisement policies and so on. So it's a bit tricky. But you can start Google advertising with something, let's say as less as 5 or 6,000 rupees per month, and you can still get some people attracted to your site. How much does a live chat, real-time human service cost? So there are number of companies offering this service, and human. What I mean by human service is the customer is not really chatting to an automatic robot. The customer is actually chatting to a human being. So in that case, it may cost something to the tune of, let's say, 15 to 20,000 rupees per month. And if the number of chats will go up, this service will probably go up. But the typical package will be in that range. And the biggest advantage is this is 24 by 7. So the moment the chat happens, they send you a mail with all the information of the customer. They may also send you a link where you can see the transcript of the chat, exactly what information was sought by the visitor, what answers were given. So if at any point of time you feel that wrong answers are being given, you can correct that as well. How frequently is a site updated? Now, if you are creating your own site with, let's say, about 20 to 25 pages, I would recommend you update it at least once a month. Now, if you have got a more complex site, and this really depends on the nature of your business and how quickly the information related to your business or your service gets updated, then it could be as less as 1 week. So it may get updated on a weekly or on a fortnightly basis. What is organic search engine, or what is organic search in a search engine? So if you go to Google and if you search for something, you'll see two lists. One will be a big and the more prominent list. Second will be a smaller list that you'll see on the right hand side. So what you see on the right hand side of the screen, those are called as the advertisements or the sponsored links. Now what you see in the center, they are the organic search results. So the organic search results depend on a whole lot of factors, and Google has got one of the most intelligent algorithms to search for websites. So Google carefully studies how many people have gone to that site, is the site really good, how many other sites are referring to that site, and so on. So based on all that, the rating will be allocated. So that main search that happens in the center is called as the organic search. Now what is search engine optimization and how can I do it? Search engine optimization is designing your site with some of the best practices of the industry, so that when you actually host that site, then the search engines are able to find it very quickly. Now I can tell you that search engine optimization is a huge subject, and one can perhaps do a 100-hour course in that. Now I can tell you that there are some guidelines that one needs to observe, and there is a lot of information already available about this on internet. If you need a few more links, you can send me a mail and I can share them with you. Do I need a HTML editor like FrontPage or Dreamweaver to design my site? Nowadays, people are not using them, so we use mostly the site builders, or as we discussed, maybe the ready templates available in things like WordPress and so on. Can I use Drupal or Joomla or any other tool to develop my website? Well, yes, you can use Drupal or Joomla, but then remember they are extremely high-end tools. So for a site of something like 15 to 20 pages of a site of a professional services company and something like that, they could probably be overkill. So can you do that? Yes, you can. But then technologically they are much too complex and much more advanced and powerful. So I suggest if this is the first website you are building, stick to something simple that you can understand and that you can follow, and you can make the changes yourself at least for a few months or years. So maybe you can go in for Drupal or Joomla much later. So I'll be able to take any questions that you have and I'll be able to answer them. So let's just complete our slides and then we'll come to Q&As. So some tips for you to continue. So if you are not a Technowrites student yet, you can still look at these resources. So you can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @MacPandit. You can get more information about our courses. You can participate in the other or more webinars that we are going to conduct. You can look at the videos that I have got on YouTube. Specifically, you can look at a related video called as Building Portfolio. So how to build your own portfolio as a freelancer. And there are many of the other webinars that I have conducted. So their recordings are also there on YouTube. So take a look at them. If you are a Technowrites student, then you perhaps get a few more resources. So as a part of our course, we have got lots of guidelines for freelancing. We have got videos that will help you to prepare quotation invoices and so on. We have an entire freelancing course that we have designed. But then for all our students, we have got a carefully drafted freelancing roadmaps, which sort of tell them how they can get started. And this includes things like how they can prepare for freelancing, where can they download a software from, and there is very good quality software available for free, so we have included that. Where can they register? So there are sites like elance where they can register and maybe they can start doing freelancing there. So all that information is there in our freelancing course and the freelancing roadmap. So this part of the information, though, the red blocks that you see, the pink blocks that you see here, are available only to Technowrites students. So some of the links, if you want to look at, so technowrites.com, then of course GoDaddy, and I've also given a link for the GoDaddy website builder. So using that you can build your own site. I have given a link to Google Business Apps and a few other site builders. So Squarespace, Clippings. Zopim is a site for chat client. So if you want to integrate chat on your website, then Zopim Chat is one of the very popular chats. WordPress.com, of course, you can go, and on a WordPress site you can create your free website also. But then if you want to register a domain name, they'll charge you. Then of course I have included a link to a very good page, and this page will give you a comparison of the best website builders available in the market right now, so you can take a look at them as well. A summary of the presentation overall. We talked about the importance of website, we talked about what is a website, we talked about what is that you'll need to build a site, we talked about renting server spaces using a site builder, we talked about getting email IDs in your domain specific, with your domain specific name, adding value to your site through internet advertising and chat, and maybe using social media. So that brings me to the end of this particular session. So thank you very much for joining me today. You can note down my email ID. It's mac@technowrites.com, and the Twitter handle of course is @macpandit. Thank you very much for joining, and we can now go in for the question answers if we have time.